Welcome back to Couture Construction. I'm your host, Andrew Denny, and this is Season 11, The Art of Storytelling and Design. Every design has a narrative, from the spark of inspiration to the final reveal. This season, we're exploring how stories shape spaces, connect people, and leave a lasting impact. Through conversations with designers, architects, editors, and creatives, we're uncovering how personal histories, cultural influences, and client journeys are woven into a home's DNA. Today's episode is about the courage to start again and how reinvention can become one of the most powerful forms of storytelling. Joining me today is Anna Lisa Dobbs, founder of Anna Lisa Design, a Nashville-based creative whose career has evolved from acting to event design to interiors, antiques, and florals. After years in Los Angeles building immersive event experiences, Anna Lisa relocated to Nashville, where she has built multifaceted business that bridges her love for design, storytelling, and craftsmanship. Her work celebrates pieces with history and meaning, antiques with character, florals with soul, and interiors that breathe new life into the past. In this conversation, Anna Lisa shares how embracing new creative chapters and telling her story authentically has helped her carve her own path in the design world. Welcome, Anna Lisa. Thanks so much for being here. Old friend, and we've worked in the same building for years, and now you're out on your own, but Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It feels really special to be able to share this conversation with you.
Well, I'm very happy for that. Before we dive into kind of your professional life, share with us a little bit about who Anna Lisa is outside of, your CV.
Outside my CV. My beginning of journey started in Cincinnati, Ohio, is where I grew up. And all throughout my life, I have been very influenced by design and art and creativity. My parents were extremely supportive in that. My dad, he was working in AV back when it was very young in the 90s, and also in various different forms of homes. And then my mother was really a great home designer. She was very good at creating a beautiful home too. For us. Yes. And so those pieces really, I kind of took things along with me, just going on like trips to Home Depot with my dad, pulling paint samples, sketching floor plans of my childhood bedroom. Always spoke a really big dialogue into my life without me realizing that was even a job, like in Cincinnati, Ohio at that time. I didn't know you could even do that for a living, to be honest with you. Growing up, I was also very much in performing arts. I was a dancer. A part of my biggest journey throughout creativity has been through acting.
Oh, cool.
I got to start very young in that. And, because of that, I traveled a lot. I saw different parts of the country very young, did things like this at a very young age. So, it did shape, and it was a part of my journey at a very young age, and brought me to California at a very young age of 17.
Wow. How cool.
Yeah, thank you.
How cool. So acting to antiques, what's the thread? Like, share with me how that works and how that pathway does have that common thread in it.
I think all art forms have a common thread. It sounds crazy to say like, oh, you went from acting to antiques to interiors. Like, how do you even get there? I think a lot of it, I started acting so young that the younger you are, the more, jobs and bookings and success you have, you start just moving forward without really thinking about where you're going. And it wasn't until around my mid-20s that I had this catalyst of, okay, what am I doing with my life? My dad passed away very young, and so it caused me to think about what matters the most in life. And I thought about what's the best case scenario if this acting thing works out for me. And if I thought best case scenario wasn't what I really wanted, was I willing to do all the things that have to go along with, going through that career? And so I had that big moment. I think, young 20-year-olds have of, what am I going to do? I'm depressed. Life as I know it. I didn't have a formal education, so I just felt really lost. And, I think a lot of people that are artists, creatives, entrepreneurs fall into that. And it can be really scary. But I thought about the things that brought me the most joy. I removed the idea of what do I need to do to make money? What is going to be my job, my career someday? I'm 25. Like, what is it that brings me the most joy? And it was creation. And I wasn't finding my fulfillment through creating through film and cinematics anymore, but I wanted to storytell. And I loved being around beautiful things. I loved creating beautiful things. When I had dinner parties with my friends, I would go all out with my tablescapes. And I just thought, okay, well, if I love this so much, how can I elaborate on it? And then I found my way into doing event design and floral design in Los Angeles, which, as you can imagine, is very elaborate. It's very immersive. Budgets were of no question. So you were able to really just...
Perfect.
Yes, everyone loves that. So I was able to really create these rich and impactful spaces, usually based around a major event, which was very fulfilling, being a part of a wedding, a big celebration, and just being able to look at people's faces and enjoy it, harvested something inside of me. And I wanted to transition into interiors, but I just didn't really know how to do that. And I was able to create these spaces without having a design degree. So I kind of rode that wave for quite a while until, COVID. The great didn't. Yeah.
Is that when you became attracted to moving to Nashville?
Yes, absolutely. I joined the great migration to Nashville, I think, pretty early on. All of us Californians kind of took the big leap because of the pandemic. But yes, I got calls left and right. Events were canceling. I wasn't able to create these beautiful spots. Yeah. Yes, of course. But that was how it was for so many people.
Yeah.
Everyone has a COVID story, but I found my way to Nashville and, I'm not creating these immersive spaces anymore. Again, had that big, what am I doing with my life moment, and sat in my cute little 2-door East Nashville home and looked around and thought, well, I'm just going to make this place as beautiful as I possibly can and kind of fulfill that itch of interiors that I've always had a longing for. And kind of just grew into that during that time. I used the pandemic as a time of not only reflection, but education. I studied design books. Like, you pick up a coffee table book, you flip through the pages, but I would read from the forward to the sourcing index about where things are getting sourced from, who these artisans are, learning about, okay, this coffee table is by this designer. Let me learn everything about that designer that made this coffee table in France in the 1950s. I just became hooked. And, also just looking at the pages and thinking about, like, why is it important to have this here at this scale? And what is this color doing for this, texture? I kind of looked at those pages like you would a script of thinking, like, what's this element of this room doing to the overall story of the space, and what would it be like if you took that away? The whole plot would be gone. And it's really how I view interiors without even meaning to. I think just because I started in acting so young, that's kind of the through line. Like you said, you said, how did you go from acting to antiques? Well, it's all a dialogue. It's all going to play into each other. You look at, paint swatch and you say, okay, this is what I'm going to use for the setting. This is the space that I'm around. Am I on a farm? Am I in a condo in the city? That's your setting. And then you think about the pieces that you're implementing into the space. For me, a lot of times, like, my main character in a room is going to be an antique or a piece that has a lot of story that inspires me. And then all the other characters will kind of fall into place. All down to, like, the antagonist. You think about, you need an antagonist in a story. That's the juxtaposition. That's the tension of a space. And without, a little contrast, a little different energy in a room, it's much like a play. It would fall flat. So there's definitely a through line.
Oh, heck yeah, there is. And you just described it beautifully. That is so cool. That is so cool. That. So when did you, I'm just curious, have you been conscious of the story design plays, and is that what attracted you, or is it something that you've discovered as you've gone along because of your passion for creating?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's definitely odd to talk about because I think about it and it's happening as I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever really openly talked about that actually before this. It's like you just stepped into my little weird brain there for a minute. But it does kind of happen organically. And because I do floral design, any creative thing has something unifying it. I look at a blank vase and I think about, the shape and the form I want it to take. The light moments, the dark moments, the texture, the color, and that's so applicable in interiors.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing for a painter. I feel like you could talk about that to another artist that's in a totally different field, and they would say, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's just, these are my methods, and these are my paintbrushes.
Oh, that is so cool. That is so very cool. So now you have a studio.
I do.
You are integrating all of your past. And you're still focused on kind of the hero of the story, which is the antiques and the furniture that you source and display in the studio. Tell us a little bit about A, I'd love to hear about the studio, but B, how you identify character in these pieces, and what are you looking for, and how do you translate what inspired you about something to a potential permanent home? Just kind of walk through what that looks like.
That's a great question. I love sourcing. It's, when I see a piece, a lot of times I think about how I would utilize it in a space. When I'm sourcing, I'm not just sourcing for my shop. I'm sourcing for its forever home. I'm thinking about how it could be utilized in a modern setting, which is so romantic to me to look at a piece like, I don't know, an old secretary from the 18th century and think, this could be a great bedside table. This could be a great landing point for your foyer where you drop your keys and your mail, and just taking something that was used as an entirely separate purpose and how we can reinvent it in a modern time. There's something about that I just think is so rich in history. And you can always get, a contemporary piece, and there is a 50-50 to that sourcing. But if you can find something that is old, I will always recommend going that direction. But yes, when I'm sourcing, I am thinking about how would I style this? Where would this go if I was working on an interior project of my own? Sometimes I'm even thinking of like, how am I going to style this in the showroom? I have a lot of this style. I need more juxtaposition. I need more of a color to contrast, so that way these pieces speak, they don't get lost. I style my showroom much like I would try to style not a home. It's still like a gallery, and it's a small space, so we're not working with a lot of room, but the selections I make are with all those things in mind.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. What I want to talk a little bit about just the business aspect of this. Buying these materials, like how have you developed those relationships, and where do you it's just kind of funny to think you have a passion, then somebody above you has a passion where they're bringing together all of these things, and it's just this ecosystem
absolutely
of materials, and again, just the beautiful history and the
life.
Provenance, and it's just really unique. So share with me how you've developed this, and you don't have to give away any of your trade secrets, but kind of your go-to, like, where are you going to get inspired and to see these? And would just love to hear a little bit about that.
Well, inspiration has always struck me from other interior designers' spaces. The thing I love about specifically this time frame of design of the 1940s to the 1980s, there seems to be a really rich narrative there. When you get to, antique is true to 100 years and older, but there was a time frame where we really could document who these designers were, their story, where they came from. They're paving the way of design in people's homes over time. So for me, I've really educated myself on these makers and artisans. And once you start, like I said, you read the index of coffee table books, you find the designers that you love, and you start hunting them down. You say, okay, I love a Bruno Masson chair. where am I going to find that? So you search it like crazy. And then you find all of these resources that carry that designer. And then who else do they carry? What else are they able to source for you? For me, a lot of my pieces do come from Europe. I personally have not had the opportunity or luxury to go to Europe on a buying trip yet, for variable different reasons, one of which being a mother of a very young child. But I do get my pieces from Europe just from importers already in the States. But I think a lot of my resources come from a self-education as to these designers that I have taken a lot of time in learning their history and being able to seek the keywords out. Educating yourself in antiques and interiors, if you just type it into Google, you will find it. And you just have to be really good at leaving those breadcrumbs. And it's really how I got my start, to be honest with you.
Wow, that's so cool. I love that you're self-taught and you're incredibly well-versed with the subject matter. Another business question. How have you seen that relationship change? And what I mean by that is when you first started, obviously, sometimes people aren't taken as seriously as they should be. Clearly, if anybody's interacted with you now on the flip side, I bet you have those vendors and people that are sourcing that they're saying, oh, I know somebody in Nashville that would absolutely love these and understands the importance of it. Have you started to develop those relationships and have kind of those people that say, hey, I may have something for you?
I have geeked out a few times. I'm still so new. I really am. And it's kind of humbling to think that some designers that I really look up to have reached out to me for items from my showroom. And I'm constantly blown away as to how that happens. Social media is a huge gift and it's a burden, of course. Yeah. There's a lot of things that come with it. It's been a giant benefit for me is to be able to get my name out there. I also really see social media as another tool creatively. I see it as another way for me to put out in the world my craft. Instead of it being a means to an end, I really try to use it as, another canvas to work with. And because of that and growing that aesthetic that has a very defined brand to it, I think it's kind of grown from this. And, a lot of it, you just sneak into people's DMs. Just ask for what you want. If you want this designer to shop with you and you admire them, tell them that. Maybe they'll get back to you, maybe they won't, but you will never understand until you take your shot. Yeah. Which has surprisingly worked out more than I would have expected it to.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Florals. So I find Florals incredibly inspirational, and I feel like and we both just had the opportunity to participate in the Flower Magazine show house in Nashville. That is an incredible home. Without what your skill from a floral perspective brought to it, it would just be, it was wonderful, but it added so much. And again, it kind of goes back to like the set and everything else, but there's such a luxury to the flowers and the floral, and you're so gifted with the creation of those. Just share with me a little bit about how that feeds you and how it's translated to business. Would just really love to understand more on that.
Absolutely. For me, floral design, it's really romanced me in what life is. You look at flowers, they have a small little vase life. They bring beauty to this world and then they're gone. And so there's something about that just really enriches me. In interiors versus events, there's a very big difference. And I've grown my business a lot doing floral design as styling with interior designers. And those relationships have really been something I really cherish. When you're doing flowers for an interior space, you're able to bring a little breath of life into that room. when you're working like in the flower show house, that's a totally different level of bringing a little bit of life. You're bringing a whole lot of life into that home through the way of floral. And that's the beauty of the flower show house. You're able to really flex your skill set as many designers and many sponsors were able to. But typically in an interior setting, you're taking the environment around you and you're just adding that one missing element that says, hey, there's something living in this image. And when you're doing events, it's a totally different thing. You can get funky, bold. The world is your oyster. And just being able to play into both of those things has been really gratifying to me. Working in styling for interiors has been great because I'm able to kind of itch that scratch of working in the interior side. And I'm learning so much from designers that I really look up to and admire, being able to step into their spaces and add and implement just that one, not missing piece, but that one piece that you'd miss if it wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so cool. It's very, very unique that you have these different skill sets and you're bringing them together under one roof, and how individual that is for you. Like, it really seems to be very, very fulfilling on a lot of different fronts. What would you share if you had to only choose one thing to focus on right now? And this is hypothetical because I know you wouldn't, but what would it be? Would it be the sourcing? Would it be florals? Would it be what would you wake up and want to do every day the rest of your life if you could only pick one? Or at least let's say for the next 30 days.
This
Life
is
too
why I
long.
have 3 legs to my business. I love all of it. I would say antiques.
Yeah, cool.
I would. I've booked and I've done a vast amount of work in floral in the last 60 days. So it'd be really nice to be able to say, okay, taking a little step aside and broadening my antique showroom. With that said, I've had the luxury, I'm saying all this out loud. I'm like, actually, I don't really know. I'm trying to figure this out. Since I've started my business, a lot of success has come from the antiques and floral design. And, the reason I said antiques right away is because I want to see these spaces, these pieces that I have collected in their homes. I want to get them in their homes, and I want those to be homes that I create with my clients. I've been sourcing for a long while now, and I have been buying a lot and selling a lot. But there's this weird feeling after I sell something of like, I really would have liked to have held on to that for my client. I don't have that client, but I want it. I want that to go in my home. So I think if I could just take a step aside, I think beginning in the new year, honestly, is implementing these pieces, my antiques, into homes that I have created with my clients. I don't think I'm ever going to say I would take a step aside from any of the 3 facets that I've gotten into. But because I've had so much work, both on the antiques and floral design, kind of paving and pivoting into the interiors would be my next big major focus.
So how do you plan that pivot? What does that look like? Absolutely.
I think it's taking a real hard look at my business structure and saying, I am really busy on these 2 legs and I want to get busier on this 3rd leg. What am I having to do with my time, and what am I willing to say yes and no to? And those are really hard things to do when you have for a very long time prayed for opportunity to come your way. It's really hard to say no to the opportunity when it knocks on your door. But everything you say yes to, you are saying no to in some other regard. So really shaping my willingness of time is something that I'm really learning, and you will have to learn for anyone that's in that same boat.
Yeah.
And also advertising. I need to learn to do more of this, of course. Thank you for having me. But talking about it. I think so much of success comes from just telling people what you do and what you're passionate about. And if you're passionate about it and you're educated in it, people are authentically going to want to work with you. And just being able to bring that dialogue, I think there's no question that I know what I'm talking about with the antiques and florals. So having more dialogue and what I'm talking about with interiors, just being able to talk to you about it, will give clients and customers that trust that they want when they're working with you.
Well, first of all, I commend you because you couldn't have summed that up better if you had been in business for 50 years.
Oh, gosh,
and,
thank you.
I think it's really important to understand that concept of limit.
Mm-hmm.
And not that, again, I love the three different, you could have 5 different approaches, but you're exactly right. You have capacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what can we do? And it sounds to me like you want to bring some more balance to what you do because it fulfills you in a different way, and interiors in a way feed both of the other legs as well.
Absolutely.
And that's a great,
Trifecta.
yeah, it's a perfect kind of marriage. So, share with me what, from a design perspective, when you engage with a new client, how are you hoping to bring their story out of them through what you do?
Absolutely. That's a funny question to hear said out loud, because my initial response is learning who they are, analyzing their script, their story, where they came from, where they've traveled, how it's influenced them. I think one of the things that I love most about when you step into a well-designed space is it is thought-provoking. And understanding your clients, what provokes them. Is it color? Is it texture? Is it tranquil, tone on tone? Where have they been that has influenced them, I think, is a big element of that. And really just understanding them. I will always be bringing in vintage and antique pieces. So whoever I work with should probably have not an education in it. I love educating other people, but an interest in it. To the contrast of styles and a blend of that, I think, is the ideal client for me. A blank canvas to work with, and people that just want to enjoy the process and being able to make that enjoyable for them. Because I've worked in events and weddings and very high and intense environments of feelings.
Pressure.
I know pressure and I know quick turnaround and I know emotions. And just being able to have some sympathy to people that are going through these big transitions in their home. That's their tranquil space. It's a huge honor to be a part of that with whoever you're working with, whether it's their wedding day and you're designing their wedding space, or you're designing their home that they're going to come back to every day. Really learning who your clients are, and not just their design philosophy, but what provokes them, learning who they are, so you can understand how to talk to them and have some regard with them professionally and also just sympathetically.
Absolutely. Do you find people who don't fully understand antiques, do you find them engaged when you start sharing the story and the heritage of the piece?
Absolutely. I think there's a curiosity to it. It's like a history lesson. You don't need to be a history buff to have an appreciation for a beautiful object. But I do see people's lights kind of spark when you do share that history with them, because they might not be able to tell you why something is beautiful. And also because when they buy something and it's in their home, they're going to want to share that with someone else. They're going to want to pass on that story and pass on its magic. And then they're proud stewards of it. So I do find it just fun to be able to educate and share the stories of these pieces and pass them along. Even if you don't know anything about it, it's a beautiful story to carry on.
I think that's really a great way to put it too, is it's a unique delineation between just things that you own and something that you feel a connection of stewardship to.
Absolutely.
And, there's certainly a little bit of a hallmark of luxury when you have to be a steward of something, as opposed to something that's mass premium or produced or available to anybody. That one of one moniker that's available on the antique pieces.
I couldn't agree more. So well put, Andrew.
It can just create, it does create an unreplicatable environment. So inherently then that is very individual. and very custom, which is what the clients, we serve or you serve, I think mostly desire. And I think that's really, really a very unique thing to deal in. I want to go back to kind of the beginning of your story with the acting. And I thought that was pretty fascinating, the comparison between, story, because that's what we're talking about, and the scene, the plot. When you are focused on something like that at a very creative level, has it been difficult for others to understand your point of view? You mentioned ADD, and gosh, I trust me, I can relate to you on that. But to me, that was such a perfect way to draw a comparison. How do people respond to that?
I don't know if I share a lot of it. So it's interesting to think about how someone might respond to it. I don't take people through the journey of saying, well, this sofa is the antagonist. Yes. I think I probably scare some people away talking like that, because I'm hearing myself. I'm like, you sound kind of crazy.
No, you say. I mean, it's really excellent. It really is.
Well, it does kind of play its way out. If you saw a film, you would leave with an impression based on all of the characters. And when you leave a beautiful space, you're going to have that same impression. You might not be able to find the words for it. It's going to be a feeling. The same way when you leave a play, you're going to leave emotively impacted. And, I don't know if that's something I visually have been able, or vocally have been able to portray to people before. So I'm interested to see how people respond to that mentality. But it's so applicable when you think about it. I think
it's really brilliant. Yeah. I really do.
I mean, it's a setting. It's a landscape. You can't have a story that's not going to have that, and it's going to impact the people that are in the story. So even saying, okay, this is where we are. This is how the home's going to translate. And the characters, it's true. You can't take a table lamp away and it not be the same. It's gonna impact the space.
Well, and then your clients, the people you are serving, they really animate all of those things. Like, that's what ultimately brings life to the scene.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's maybe how you can share it, is that's your part in this play, is how you live with these things. Along those same lines, and just because you've been, I think all of our listeners are probably fascinated to some degree or another of, Hollywood. Is there any particular set or movie or scene that has inspired you, with interiors? For instance, for me, currently it's like The Gilded Age on HBO. I mean, absolutely amazing set design. And of course that's, not very tangible, but growing up, even like Full House, like that felt like such a home, and there was characters. But for you, having been in that world, do you have some
favorites?
Some favorites?
Oh, man. It's not recent. I tend to be the person that watches a series way after it's been released.
Me too. Gilded Age is the exception. I wait for bated breath for that to...
For interiors inspiration, I really love Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
It was
just so wonderful.
I would pause the scenes to study the kitchens. That was a definite list maker for me.
Yeah, Miss Patmore. Absolutely. Loved her kitchens, and the kitchen design was amazing.
It was.
And what's so funny is it would still be like, if you could create that kitchen, obviously with a little bit of modernity today,
so relevant.
Somebody would pay $2 million for that kitchen.
So relevant.
Yeah, it's just perfect.
Yes.
It's just absolutely
perfect. Set design
perfect.
is really a remarkable thing. It's magic.
Did you have the opportunity to work with any set designers as you were coming up through that business?
I was in kind of how I am now. I think this is just a characteristic that I have. Yeah. I'm just curious about so many things that when I was doing acting, I did find myself doing a lot of, just happenstance, producing, directing, trying to find the location scouting, especially when you're starting it out and you're making your own like independent films and things, you have to kind of carry and wear all of the hats. So yes, absolutely. In some regard, I don't think at the time I absorbed it. Like I wish I could go back and do now, because I was so focused on, what my task was, what my point of team was to do. I was not on that side of the industry at the time, but it definitely was there, and it definitely made an impression on me.
What would you say? So you're not that far removed from California, 5 years or so, 5 or 6 years. I think one of the unique things that we've seen in Nashville is a migration of people here. I love California. I've never lived there, but I think Southern California is just really beautiful. But it definitely is distinctly different from a design perspective. And we see those influences moving east just because of people wanting to maybe bring their sense of home to wherever they're going. Was that, first off, what were some of your favorite design attributes from Southern California? And have you been able to incorporate those, here, or use any of that influence here on projects, whether it be sourcing, interiors, or florals?
Absolutely. I think you said it pretty perfectly. When people move from wherever they're coming from, a new place feels foreign to them, and they like to bring a little element of home with them. It gives them comfort. We're seeing a lot of that West Coast design here in Nashville, which take it or leave it. It's here. And I have a blended perspective of that, because I spent so much time in California, and I also see it as a very beautiful landscape. The Spanish architecture, the terracotta tile ceiling or rooftops, the stucco and plaster exteriors, the archways, that really does something for me. I've always loved the architecture of that place. But I also really love the architecture and place of Nashville. And much like we were talking about with landscape and scene and culture and how that influences people in a storytelling standpoint, I think you have to honor it. You have to honor your landscape wherever you are. You can't take a tried and true businessman out of New York and plop him in the countryside and expect him to not have a little bit of tension there. That's where all these great stories kind of come from. But eventually that man will start to get immersed in his culture and therefore find the beauty and the appreciation of it. I think the influence that I see here coming from California, when done well, is when you're taking the architecture of the homes that are here and bringing in characteristics to it that feel familiar and comfortable to you, while still respecting the time and place that these homes were built. I really, truly stand behind the integrity of the homes of Nashville. The whole architecture here is really remarkable. It's swindled me. I've really been romanticized by it. I love California, but I don't need to bring that architecture here with me. If you want to bring the plaster of the walls, love that. Love the color schemes that you're able to bring into your homes, the textiles of California. You think about, the nubbiness of this chair, things like that I think are totally appropriate to bring into these spaces, but also just mirroring, okay, so I have a little bit of tension of my West Coast style in, this Southern landscape. Like, how am I going to play into both things without saying, okay, the landscape outside is California. It's not. You're in Nashville. So respect it is kind of my mentality of design. Even if I'm working with a West Coast client, that's probably something I'm gonna really dive into.
You're gonna have to get into a reality check. Well, and I think we're very fortunate in the sense that you in particular, moving from Southern California to Nashville, the creative energy in both of those places is really exceptional. I mean, some of the best creative energy in the world. And I think in both of those communities, it ripples from whether it be the music industry here rippling throughout what we currently do, or how Hollywood ripples out, from LA into, the surrounding areas. Just really cool influences. And, I think because of that, we're fortunate that boundaries get pushed in anything creative, right? And I think you're a perfect example of that with the design you do, especially, I mean, just in the things that I've personally seen you do. They're really, really creative. And I think that's just a neat thing. And I think it lends itself well to, you talking a little bit earlier about like that blend of old and new, like that tension, that juxtaposition of a period piece with maybe something new or a different texture. It just really creates beautiful,
blend.
Yeah. Blend. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just is. So, would you say that that influence is similar from Southern California to here?
In what way?
Just that kind of creative push where everything has, we're willing to push the bounds a little bit further.
I think the design, because there's so much influence all over, we see so much more now in the world, that there's a lot of influence in a lot of different directions. And I think having that stimulus does inspire you to do things a little bit differently. And, what I said, speaking into bringing the West Coast here to Nashville and still respecting the architecture, I think you can still do that and push the boundaries of what the design is here. It would be a disservice to design and the growth of design to not make those pushes. Anytime you have a little bit of tension of pushing the boundaries, there's going to be something beautiful that's created from that. I think it's all about respect, honor of what we talked about before about being a steward of something, with also saying, well, how am I going to do things that's just a little bit different with the variables that I have in front of me? Yeah,
very cool. So as we fast forward, we're here kind of at the end of 2025. Your business launched in 25, right? Like with space, you're on your second location, the C School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's fast forward to a year from now. And what would you like to accomplish in 26?
I would love to see more interior projects in 26. Okay. I want to see 2 to 3 projects. That's very minimal and very realistic, which means I find it to be very possible. I like to set really specific ground rules for myself of projects that I really proudly hang my hat on, of projects where the pieces that I collect are seeing themselves come to fruition in homes, of being able to, like you said, push the narrative on what some of the architectural pieces are in homes in Nashville. And, because there's so many people moving here from all over, it'd be so nice to work with people that are new to this city, to give them a good welcome of what Nashville is all about. It's such a great city. The community here is absolutely unmatched to anywhere I've lived. And there's so much resources. It's growing like crazy. There's plenty of room at the table for everyone. And just being able to really use those relationships that I've built in the antiques world and just be able to give back to some of these other dealers in Nashville. And be able to shop with them for my clients. I know so many friends here in Nashville that are also antique and vintage dealers, and we're all very close. It's not like any other industry I've been in where it's competitive. There is there's always going to be that. But I look forward to being able to take pieces and source pieces, not just for my own shop, but for the bigger story of what these pieces are supposed to be in a home. very much looking forward to working with makers and artisans, resources such as yourself at Textures, working with, great stone slab yards. Getting more into hard goods is something I very much look forward to doing. And yeah, just seeing and growing that side of the business is something that I'm very focused on for the new year.
Well, I think you'll be very successful. Okay, final question before we transition to our rapid fire. And just because of your passion, do you have a favorite piece right now? Like, is there something that you just are so proud of? And if so, can you kind of just give us a little overview of what that piece is and share a little bit of just the history and why you think it's special?
I'm trying to think. It's like naming a favorite child. That's really hard to do. I hate to name drop because I feel like that feels like a bit silly, but when you're a geek about antiques, it's kind of hard not to do that. But I have a pair of Dissetti leather sofas in my shop, and the leather craftsmanship on them are just phenomenal. The way that they will age and wear over time is something I'm really proud to have. In fact, I really don't want them to sell. I want to sit on them as long as I can before they meet their new home. Charles de Dois is another big maker in France and in the 1940s, 50s era. And I love the curvature that he uses in his woodcraft. He has a lot of work that's very iconic to him, and being able to see how he uses spherical shapes and square kind of etchings on the facades of his case goods that just make his pieces really recognizable. And the artisanry that goes into his work is really remarkable. And that's the thing with these designers of that era. You can read up about them, you can study them, but they were the trailblazers. And so being able to see that in the modern setting and be able to harvest those pieces in my shop is something that I am so lucky to be a part of.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you and excited for your future. I think you've got a very bright one. And
thank you, Andrew.
I just absolutely love that you love what you do. I think that is truly probably your greatest gift and your strongest asset. So keep leaning into that. So rapid fire.
Oh gosh.
I'm going to go. So I have 4 questions. I'm going to ask you 3 of them. One creative habit or ritual you want to keep or start this upcoming year.
I would love to have a hobby that I don't turn into another leg of entrepreneurship. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I would love to have something that speaks into my creative energy that I don't have to seek financials from. I have a pottery wheel in my attic from 5 years ago. It'd be awesome if I could take that down and spin a few ceramics and not try to sell them. Something like that would really be good for me. When you start treating your hobbies, because my hobbies are my career now, they start to become a job after a while, and you're passionate about them. But it'd be great to find something that has absolutely nothing to do with that and let that speak into my creative work in a very authentic way.
Or at least give you a little respite. From
Maybe
your,
that should be my goal, is just to rest a little.
You may want to try puzzles.
Maybe.
What one word best describes your mindset as we start 2026?
Honed in.
Yeah.
That's 2 words.
Yeah, focused.
Yes, focused. Edited.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Easy one. Go-to comfort meal.
My husband's going to laugh at this one. He's the chef in our family. He makes a tortellini soup that is like a hug.
That's
it
great.
Literally, it does not matter what has happened in my day to come home to that tortellini soup. I've literally had tears in my eyes to see it on the pot, on the
isn't
stove.
that wonderful?
He makes it when he knows it's just been a bad one. So
That's awesome.
The tortellini
That's
soup
awesome.
by Adam Dobbs is my go-to.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Anna Lisa, thank you for joining us and sharing such an open, inspiring story of growth. Your journey is such a powerful reminder that creativity isn't static. It evolves, adapts, and deepens with every chapter we live. Next time on Couture and Construction, we'll be joined by Julia and Matt Ryan of Design Proper for episode 147, Origin Stories, the why behind the work. Julia shares how her new platform is helping designers tell their stories through immersive home tours and authentic conversations, connecting audiences to the people behind the design. Thanks for listening to Couture and Construction. If today's episode inspired you, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And now you can also watch season 11 on YouTube. Follow along on Instagram at Couture and Construction for more behind the scenes moments from the world of luxury design. This episode was produced by Cass Collective and Chelsea Rand. Until next time, keep cultivating creativity.